1066, the final battle that ended the Viking Age forever. When you think of the Viking Age, what comes to mind? Long ships, fierce warriors, and epic raids. For over 300 years, they were the terror of Europe. But then, they just stopped. So what happened? Did they all just vanish? Not quite. The end of the Viking Age wasn't a sudden stop but a slow fade, and it all came to a dramatic head in one fateful year, 1066. So how did this legendary era come to a close? One of the biggest game changers was religion. As Christianity spread across Scandinavia, Viking kings and their people began to convert. Suddenly, raiding Christian monasteries wasn't just frowned upon. It was sacrilege. This shared faith brought them closer to the rest of Europe, and the cultural lines that once made them outsiders began to blur. At the same time, the Viking homelands were transforming. Small, independent territories started to merge into powerful, centralized kingdoms, what we now know as Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. These new kings weren't interested in funding a bunch of freelance raiders. They wanted to build stable nations, collect taxes, and command organized royal armies. The wild days of independent Viking expeditions were numbered. Meanwhile, the rest of Europe got a lot better at fighting back. Rulers like Alfred the Great in England built networks of fortified towns, making it much harder for Vikings to just show up and loot. In other places, like France, Vikings were given land in exchange for peace. The famous Viking chief Rollo, for instance, was granted territory that became Normandy. Ironically, these former Vikings, the Normans, became the very defenders of the lands they once attacked. This brings us to 1066, the year that marks the symbolic end of the Viking Age. The Norwegian king Harald Hardrada, often called the last great Viking, launched a massive invasion of England to claim the throne. He was met by the English army at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. The battle was brutal, and in the end, Hardrada was defeated and killed. This marked the last major Viking invasion of England and the final thunderous clap that closed the era of Scandinavian overseas conquest. The Vikings didn't disappear, they assimilated, they became Christian kings, Norman dukes, and citizens of their new Scandinavian nations. The raiders and explorers of old had simply evolved their unique identity, merging into the fabric of medieval Europe. The age of Vikings was over, but their legacy was just beginning. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this journey back in time, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss another historical deep dive. See you next time.